My son and I were in Washington, D.C. last month, had a father-son trip, and we powered through some of the sites, the monuments, and the Capitol, and the White House, and all of that. And we did a lot of standing in line. And one in particular, we walked into this museum, and there was this long line, but I couldn't tell what the exhibit was for. And so I went up to one of the people in the line, and I said, "Excuse me, sir, what is this line for?" And he looked at me, and he looked around, and he looked back at me, and he said, "You know, I don't really know." And I thought, with all of the lines in Washington, I certainly wasn't about to get in one that I didn't even know what it was for. Well, it struck me later how many of us in life are standing in lines, waiting. We're not even really sure why. And as we talk about leadership today, it's good to know why. It's good to have a reason for what you do. And for me, that was wrapped up in my title for many years. News director at WGN Radio. Fancy title? Prestigious radio station. How many have listened to WGN? May I see your hands? Oh, of course. Of course, I thought I recognized some of you. Well, for the longest time, WGN has been my life. I mean, it's practically been synonymous with WES, frankly, because it has been so much interwoven in who I am and what I have been all about. I mean, once I was in a store, the clerk said, "Can I have an ID?" I said, "Sure. This is the voice of Chicago, News Talk 720, WGN Chicago. Time of the tone, 1 o'clock. I find myself taking my work home. I mean, I lapse into news speak. I never give my wife a straight answer. She'll say something like, "Honey, have you deposited the check?" And I'll say, "Well, I can tell you, I put the check in the ATM. It's apparently being processed, but I have no confirmation of that. I'll keep you posted on further developments." And then I might even add, "Stay tuned." And then I find myself talking in short sound bites. No thought ever longer than 15 or 20 seconds. But that's actually good, because if my wife and I ever argue, then it doesn't last very long. But all of that came to an end about a month ago. No more WGN, no more news director. And that's the story I'll talk about today. And what I've been learning through the change and through the journey, and how I believe it can apply to you today as well. Because, life is about change. Change is not just a campaign slogan, believe me. I don't care who you are, how old you are, how much money you make, what you do. If you haven't had much change, watch out, because you will. And change is vitally important for leaders. Because if we don't manage the change, if we don't lead through the change, then we can't profit from the change. And how many think profit's a good idea? I see your heads. Yeah. I mean, I think if you did a study, you'd find that profit and change are two sides of the same coin, like risk and reward. The greater the risk, the greater the reward. Well, the greater the change, the greater the opportunity for profit. Because, once that on-air light goes on, watch out. You're out there without a net. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Like the time I was going to say that the mayor was tickled pink. But that's not what I said. I got to the story and I said, "And the mayor today was tinkled." Well, I somehow managed to keep my composure, made it through the rest of the newscast, but the DJ couldn't leave well enough alone. And after the news was over, he said, "The mayor better not tinkle on my show." So watch out, because life can tinkle on you. It can, but I'm here to say today that it's not the end of the world. It really isn't. In fact, I've totally reevaluated my whole take on setbacks because of what's happened to me in the past month. I've had the privilege of leading a fantastic team of reporters at WGN. And we've won numerous awards, not just me, but the entire team. Awards showing that we were not only the best in Chicago, but the best in the Midwest. And I will always remember that. And we kept people informed, made sure they understood what was going on. And you know, I realize there are a lot of criticisms of the media. A lot of people don't like what they see and hear and read. And I can share some of those criticisms with you, but I can tell you this. I'd much rather have what we have today than some sort of controlled or regulated media. In fact, it was Thomas Jefferson who said, given the choice, I would not hesitate to prefer. He says, given the choice between a government without newspapers and newspapers without a government, he said, I would not hesitate to prefer the latter. And what strikes me about what Jefferson said is he didn't hesitate. It wasn't even close. He didn't say, I might prefer, or gee, let me think about it. No, and this was from one of our founding fathers. We learn a few things about this from Jefferson. One, that Jefferson believed in the importance of the press, as I mentioned, in keeping people informed. And then number two, the importance of an independent press. Imagine, for example, if all we had learned about Watergate was what had come out of the Nixon White House. Or imagine if all we had learned about the Senate appointment in Illinois was what had come out of the office of Rod Blagojevich. So the importance of an independent press. And then third, we learned from Jefferson's comment really the assumption that such a choice wouldn't be necessary. And that's what's kept me going all these years. You know, but the belief that you're serving something bigger than yourself and that you're helping others by providing a service. And then I got the email from my boss. I got the email that said, can you stop by the office? And I did. And I found out that I was no longer going to be news director at WGN and that my days were coming to an end. And I tell you, my whole life changed in an instant. It was a surreal experience, but I got to tell you, I've learned a lot, and one of the most important things is, and here's point number one today for you leaders, leaders have to expect the unexpected. Because change can be sudden, like it was for me, but change can also be quite subtle, and it can sneak up on you. And that's almost worse. But leaders prepare for the unexpected. I think leadership is the relentless pursuit of tomorrow. You see, if you're focused on what's happening tomorrow, what's ahead, what lies ahead, what challenges you face, you're more likely ready to handle the change. So don't miss it. Don't miss out. Lead through the change. Lead through these tough times so that you can get to the good times. Because I tell you, it's going to be a great story. It really is. And you can start writing it today. Thank you, and thanks for listening.